What up, flockers? In this video we're gonna review the Galah Cockatoo, which is an absolutely amazing parrot. Listen, if you are a cockatiel lover, and I know a lot of you guys are, this parrot I literally describe as literally a cockatiel on steroids. Everything you love about a cockatiel times 10. I mean, this pink parrot is such a clown, but in a very cockatiel way. I mean, it is an insanely fun bird. You just look at this thing. All right, for one, really cool pink color. You don't see this in the parrot world outside of like Bork parakeets. And then you also have the ever famous crest of, you know, cockatiels and cockatoos, which is just so cute and so cool. And let me just tell you, the crest on a Galah is really expressive. And the thing is they are an old world parrot and they have very dusty feathers, but that's a big plus if you want something that's so soft to touch. And I mean, let me tell you, petting this thing feels like you're petting a soft teddy bear. Cockatoos are known for having really soft feathers, and the Galah is no exception. Now, these parrots come from the depths of Australia, just like cockatiels and cockatoos. In fact, I'm starting to think Australia has a lot of the coolest parrots ever. And these guys live for a whopping 50 to 70 years old. So owning one of these birds is going to be a lifelong commitment. Now, this baby Galah comes to us from Omar's Exotic Birds, which is my go-to pet store here in Southern California. They're the only pet store I've seen that actually leaves out all the baby birds out like a petting zoo, so the birds become super friendly as they start to see birds and humans as being one flock, and that just makes them really tame. And it's also the place where most of my flock has come from. Now, while they did not sponsor this video, they were really kind enough to loan me this Galah for this review. So for that, guys, thank you very much. Now, the thing about the Galah is its interesting name. The word Galah comes from a native Australian word, Galah, which is a word for fool or clown, and even today is still used as modern day slang as a loud-mouthed idiot. And that should probably give you a good idea of what to expect with one of these birds, because these birds are giant clowns. But they're not only known as the Galah, you may also see them called the Rose Breasted Cockatoo, which is their other name. Another interesting thing about this species is they are somewhat sexually dimorphic. They pretty much... Oh, sorry. Now, they are somewhat sexually dimorphic, but really it's just their eye color. Males tend to have like a darker brown eye, whereas females tend to have a lighter pinkish eye. But aside from that, they pretty much look identical. But now, aside from all that, the main question is this the right parrot for you? And to break this down, we got our 6 categories, which are going to be handleability, quietness, talking ability, care, hardiness, and upfront costs. So if you find this video really valuable, please make sure you hit the like button to help the YouTube algorithm. Just share the absolute amazingness of this Galah Cockatoo. And also, my goal with this channel is to review every single parrot in existence. Seriously. So if you really want to follow along with me on this amazing journey through the parrot world, please make sure you hit the subscribe button because you won't want to miss anything. And with all that aside, let's go ahead and begin. So first off is going to be handleability, and for handleability, I give the Galah a score of 3 out of 5. Now, they are extremely friendly and affectionate birds. I mean, you go to the pet store, and this bird is probably going to get along with you very, very well. They are such clowns. They love people. They love interaction. They love attention. They will be all over you. They love playing and acting and just being silly, shaking their heads and making sounds and singing with you. I mean, they are really fun, easy parrots to be around, for the most part. The thing is well, they're really high energy birds. If anyone knows anything about cockatoos, it's that they have endless amounts of energy, and they're a pretty good size of a bird. I mean, these things are going to be all over you, but they're going to be all over you all day long. And it's not gonna end. Oh no. As such, these birds are gonna be incredibly demanding parrots. Now, they also have a somewhat cockatiel-like personality. In fact, out of all the cockatoos, Galahs are the most closely related to the cockatiel. Close enough genetically that they can actually crossbreed, and you end up getting a Galah-teal. Now, if you want to learn a little bit about Galah-teals, you should check out my video, Top 5 Weird Parrots Money Can Buy, because Galah-teals are really cool. But that's not to say Galahs aren't. But having a somewhat cockatiel-like personality, they're not exactly a cuddly parrot, and that's gonna be really tempting because they have such incredibly soft feathers. But these birds, as much as you can rough handle them, they're not gonna want to be cuddled and hugged. So that is just something to keep in mind. They still kind of have that cockatiel nature to them, which is also kind of interesting because normally cockatoos tend to be really cuddly birds, but this is one of those few exceptions. And as such, around grabby people, these birds can be a little skittish, so you definitely just want to make sure you respect their personal space. But one of the big factors as to why the handleability score is a 3 is, well, they're really intelligent parrots with a lot of energy and a really big personality. And when I say that, I mean like they are smart enough to comprehend things almost human-like. And what I mean by that is these birds are extremely moody and they have a really good sense of memory, even more so than other parrots. I mean, these birds are so smart, they can even do things like holding grudges. I mean, if you upset the bird sometime in the morning and then you go to work and you come back home, the bird will probably still be pissed off at you. And in fact, it could have been building up a lot of anger throughout that entire day, just waiting to blow up on you. Owning a Galah is going to be just like having a roommate, and I cannot stress that enough. When they get upset, they can turn into nasty little suckers. You look at it and they got some pretty decent sized chompers. If this bird is pissed at you, they will charge at you and they will bite and they are not gonna let go. So as such, I definitely do not recommend letting kids handle this kind of a bird. So while these birds are incredibly friendly, they're also really high energy, so they're a lot to handle, and they're really smart. And they're going to have a lot of mood swings that you're gonna have to work through. So kind of like what I said, cockatiel on steroids. Now next up on this list is going to be quietness, and for quietness I give the Galah a score of 2 out of 5. Cockatoos aren't quiet birds. I mean, this should be known without saying. Now it's not exactly a 1 like pretty much most other cockatoos, because actually for a cockatoo they can be a little bit quieter, just a tad bit quieter. They don't get as loud, maybe not as frequently, but not by too much, but enough that it is noticeable. But if you're in an apartment setting, you definitely shouldn't be getting a Galah. I mean, this bird will make sure that your neighbors know it's living with you. That's a plus for a lot of people, because generally the less quiet a bird is, the more it's going to play into the next category, which is going to be talking ability. And for talking ability, the Galah gets a score of 4 out of 5. Generally, noisy birds tend to be good talkers, and the Galah is no exception. These birds are really talkative. They will learn a ton of phrases, sounds, whistles, singing. I mean, they will pick up all kinds of things, and they love talking. I mean, when your Galah is pissed off at you, you will literally get into verbal arguments with this bird, which is actually the funniest thing in the world. You can look up some videos on YouTube, but people have legit arguments with their cockatoos. If you want a talking parrot, cockatoos are great choices, and the Galah is no exception. But I do drop it a point, because for a cockatoo, the clarity isn't the greatest. It's definitely a very scratchy sound, and sometimes the words turn out more like mumbles than they do words. So if you want a very high quality talker, you probably want to look at other cockatoos or macaws, or the best of the best, the African Grey. But for this kind of a size and the fun personality of a cockatoo, I'm sure you can forgive its clarity for just how frequent it talks, and talking being paired with such a big personality is gonna make a really fun time. Now next up on this list is going to be care, and for care I give the Galah Cockatoo score of 2 out of 5. They are going to be a high maintenance parrot. This parrot's going to demand a lot of time out of your day. At the very minimum, like, you should be spending at least maybe like 4 hours a day with this parrot, but probably more. And on top of that, they are very moody parrots. I mean, these parrots can go through bouts of depression and then bouts of just super high energy. And you're always going to have to be there to help work it through its emotions and entertain it, because these birds are very, very, very flock-minded birds. Because in the wild, in a flock, okay, if one bird's bored, the birds can just move on to other birds to play with, interact, they can forage, they can do all kinds of things. As well as just the constant survival instincts kicking in. That definitely keeps them busy. But under captivity, these birds are going to need a lot of stimulation. So as such, right off the bat, these birds are bulldozers. They are going to tear through toys that you buy. They're constantly like foraging, they're constantly breaking through toys, cracking big shells and walnuts and things. I mean, they're gonna need a lot of things to do, and you're gonna have to do a good job cycling through toys and keeping them entertained. These birds will also need a lot of time outside their cage. I mean, the cage really should just be for sleeping for them, or just when they need that cage time. But otherwise, anytime you are home, this bird needs to be outside of its cage and needs to be spending time with you and your family, and they need to be playing with you and being on your shoulder, or like just doing things with you. I mean, they need to feel like they are involved in your family and not just like they're in the middle of your living room with some like visual stimulation. But these birds will also need interaction stimulation, and you really need to focus on that if you want to keep the bird's mental health really strong, because if you don't keep up with these kind of things, the bird will turn aggressive, they turn even more moody, and sometimes it can lead to a lot of mental issues such as plucking that you really don't want to deal with. On top of that, whatever cage you end up getting, you definitely need to get the biggest cage you can. Generally, I mean, this is a rule of thumb, always get the biggest cage you can, but especially with the bird like this, it's really important because they're so high energy. I also recommend you definitely should get a play set somewhere in your home away from the cage, so the bird still has multiple places in your house to hang around and play and be with the family. On top of all this, Galahs are also very foraging minded type birds, so these birds get a lot of stimulation from foraging. So things like foraging toys, or say getting like a big cardboard box and just filling it with like paper scraps or wood chips or something, and then putting seeds in there. These birds will love that kind of mental stimulation. And as such, I actually would say these birds probably prefer more wide cages as opposed to tall. And you'll notice this too, because generally Galahs tend to prefer low-hanging branches versus the tippy top. So encouraging that foraging behavior is going to be really healthy for your Galah. But lastly, with care, this parrot has a long lifespan, and as such, this parrot is probably going to outlive you, and that's a really important fact to notice, because birds like this with a long lifespan, you're better off getting these birds when you're young. But when you're young, you're also inexperienced, and this is not a parrot for inexperienced people. So this bird tends to favor more experienced older people, but then you're going to have to deal with the parrot outliving you. Now next up on this list is going to be hardiness, and for hardiness I give the Galah score 4 out of 5. This is a really hardy bird, as well as just a lot of Australian birds tend to be pretty hardy. It tolerates a wide range of temperatures and can acclimate very, very well, as long as there's not rapid changes. They're also extremely intelligent, so these birds have been really great at adapting town and even city life in Australia. And it takes a lot of mental strength in order to handle city life for a lot of birds, which is why deforestation is a big deal for a lot of parrots. But parrots like the Galah actually manage to adapt despite deforestation. And now the big deal for me is I think the Galah is a perfect size. It's about a medium large kind of size, like an African gray. And to me, that's the perfect size where I'm not going to be concerned about crushing like with a lot of other smaller parrots. Especially if you have grabby kids that grab a small bird, that's a really scary concept. But for a bird this size, I'm more concerned about the kid than I am the bird. So to me, that's a really important factor as far as hardiness goes. Now next up on this list is going to be upfront cost. And for upfront cost, the Galah has a score of 1. These birds are going to be really expensive. And they are ranging anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000. And honestly, the price keeps going up because of the bird shortage happening, as well as inflation. Obviously, buying a big cage is going to be really expensive. Maybe like $500 to $1,000, but it's not going to be as big of a deal as just buying the bird initially. Now, this bird does need, again, a lot of mental stimulation, so you definitely want to invest in a good amount of toys for this parrot to just burn through. I also recommend in your initial investment, you definitely want to get a play stand or a play set, and preferably a big one. And those can definitely add up in cost, but it's going to be a really great investment for your bird because this parrot, again, has a very high energy. Now, aside from that, putting this bird on a pellet diet is going to be really important to keep all the nutrients it needs. And this bird, you definitely want to keep seeds more as a treat because these birds do tend to be a little more prone to obesity, as under captivity they can't really burn off as much energy as they can in the wild where they're flying for miles a day. But aside from that, this parrot is going to be a very big initial investment, but considering this parrot's going to live at least 50 years for you, it's definitely a lot more affordable than say a dog. So you'll definitely get your money's worth out of this parrot. Now, to tally up my final score, this bird is going to have a final score of 2.7 out of 5. Overall, these birds are such amazing pet parrots. And especially if you are a cockatiel lover, you are going to love having a Galah, as a lot of that translates over, plus a lot more. But with cockatiel experience, you'll already be able to understand some of the body language of a Galah. However, as much as all those fun videos online that you see of these parrots just goofing around and just being absolute clowns, these parrots, again, they are not beginner friendly birds. If you're looking for your first bird, I would not recommend a Galah, as the skill cap for owning and learning the body language of these birds is going to be insane, and if you mess up, this bird is going to hold grudges on you for the rest of its life. And it's really unfortunate too, because a lot of these birds are so friendly, especially in the pet store, that a lot of people end up buying these birds, realizing just how difficult they are to keep, and then end up putting them up for adoption. So you want to really make sure you do your research and you go to a store and you interact with these birds constantly, maybe even talk to some other Galah owners that you can find online in some online communities or in person or at the pet store. But aside from how much work they are, if you are the type of person who has experience with birds, maybe has even kept birds similar to this, these parrots are so incredibly rewarding to keep. And they for sure are going to be an amazing addition to your family. Now with that, guys, please make sure you hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.